What exactly about socialism do you not like?
Like the 130 million people that died under socialism in the last 100 years. The fact that every country that engages in a socialist direction becomes less free, less prosperous.
I know that in Italy, I believe they have 8 weeks paid vacation, maternity
Yeah, it's a terrible
leave,
idea.
And
Yeah.
I thought that gave them a better quality of life, and I
It
feel
might,
like
and
that.
if you want to have somebody else pay for your vacation, move to Italy. But we're still a country that should value liberty more than comfort and security.
Do you think that maybe there's like a middle ground where you can have a little bit of both?
Everything comes at a price. The states that are the most socialistic are the worst and hardest states to live in this country. California, New York, Illinois have the most people leaving. Highest taxes, most social benefits, most social welfare, and they're leaving for states that are freer with lower taxes and more economic freedom. So everything comes at a price.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to do a video on socialism and a sprinkle of communism, and I wanted to kind of give you guys something to think about. So you have the mayoral race that's going on in New York right now, and you have people that are wanting to vote for Zoran Mondani. You know, I look at him like a snake oil salesman. You know, sometimes, I was growing up, I was always told, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I know a lot of his policies cannot come to fruition because he doesn't have that acting power to do them. So I feel like he's selling people a pipe dream. And, people, as they say in this clip, exactly that, right? And, Agent K had it right. So I think like what he's doing is wrong. And in his mind, he probably wants this. He thinks it's great, for the country and what have you. But in all honesty, it never works. Now, in theory, socialism and communism works. But in practice, it does not. And it's failed every single time. So I wanted to kind of touch bases on this because I wanted to bring everybody's attention to it. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. This is Socialism Fails Every Time. And this is by John Stossel. Go ahead and follow this person.
In America, socialism is hot again.
Democratic socialism is your kid's public school.
It's our interstate highway system.
It's the researchers and scientists paid with our taxes.
We can do better when
we do them together.
Really? I know better because I'm from Guatemala. I've seen the impact of socialism. My father escaped Cuba. My grandfather suffered under communists in Hungary before escaping. As a child, I was taught socialism was wrong. I grew up mocking it. But democratic socialism sounded okay. It made sense to me that government should take care of the economy.
It's complete anarchy.
But then I watched socialism fail in Latin America.
No hay nada.
I learned that every time a country started down the socialist path, it failed.
Como la Constitución de Cuba requiere.
When Castro came to power, people were excited. They cheered. He was going to help the poor and make everyone equal. But the result...
See, I feel like this is dumb. Like, I feel like people should know this, And I have a question for you guys in my comments. So, if you are going to school, like let's say to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, or, you happen to be lucky enough to end up with a great business, right? That you're making millions of dollars and you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into it. How fair is it that you would have to share that with somebody that didn't do it? Now, I know there was a study done once and it was just kind of like a test that they did, right? In college, where they went ahead and graded everybody, right? Because, they were testing the theory about, like the whole socialism, communism thing. And so I worked really hard when I was, going to school and getting my master's. I literally graduated 4.0. I busted my butt to get that grade and make sure I, maintain that A. I would be pissed if I worked so hard for my A not to count and for a slacker to be able to, have a piece of my A. Like, no, thank you. And I don't mean that like, y'all know what I mean. We're not talking about innuendos here. But I'm just saying, you know, like, I feel like if I worked hard for this, I deserve it, you know, because I'm the one that put the effort in. So in that scenario, what they did was they had the whole class, you know, they were doing this whole thing where everybody, you know, got to eat off the apple of the other person. So what ended up happening was the following week when they did a test, a lot of people who were like, you know what, we're going to let the nerds, you know, keep, you know, fitting the bill for us, and now I'm not going to do the effort. And, you know, a lot of people's grade dropped down to like a B, and they were like, you know, of course the people that are slackers were like, yes, I got a B, because, you know, they normally get C's or D's or F's. And the people that were A students were like, screw this, like, you're messing with my GPA here, because you have a goal for yourself to graduate a certain way, you know? And so they're like, why even bother putting the effort if they're not even trying to help us, or we're all maintaining the same grade, right? So then the following week after that, you know, here we go again, where people were like doing the test and less effort was being brought again. People's grades dropped to a C. A lot of people were getting pissed off because they're like, hey, wait, what happened? I thought we were all hitting A's. Like, what's going on here? And then so on and so on. And it kept going to the point where people's grades dropped to like D and F's. And they were saying how it was unfair. And when they were asking what caused this change, you know, the people that were putting all the effort in, trying to maintain their good grade, were saying, what's the point? You know, why am I putting all this effort into it, and this guy gets to go out and party and put zero effort into it and still get my grade? How is that fair to someone like me who works my butt off, struggles, you know, stays up late, does a lot of research for what? That's not fair, you know. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, we're just trying to be fair across the board. How is that fair? There's a reason why. Because if life was that way, where we were all gifted athletes, we were all super intelligent, there would literally be no person that would stand out. And there's a reason for this. There's reasons why you have, you know, basketball stars, baseball stars, football stars. There's reason why you have like really good, you know, actresses and actors, because not everybody can do that. You have people that are neurologists, you know, not everybody could do that. You have people that put in that time and effort and work, and some people are more gifted than others, and that's just how it is, you know. But the thing is that I don't think it's fair, and we're gonna go back to my original analogy of, if I went to school to be a doctor, like let's say an obstetrician, how is it fair that I put 10 years of my life to studying to become a good doctor just so I can make the same salary as somebody that works at McDonald's? Like, that's bullcrap. Like, why even bother? And I know some people are gonna be like, well, you should wanna be able to help people. That should be your gift. Yeah, that's not gonna erase my debt, okay? And that's not going to bring back all the time and effort I put into that. You know, like, no. I think I should be rewarded for me putting in all this time and effort instead of being a slacker and get rewarded for sitting on my butt all day. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that that's how it should be? Like, I personally don't, you know. But let me know your thoughts in your comments. So let's go on and continue with the video.
Sailing for freedom aboard an old green Chevy truck.
Hundreds of thousands fled Cuba. Here in Little Havana in Miami, Cubans who escaped are eager to remind people how bad life in Cuba had become. This man's father was a doctor.
My father had to sell illegal meat out of his ambulance in Cuba because the government wouldn't pay him enough. I mean, Cuban doctors earn like less than 1% than American doctors.
You don't see any future. Everything is stagnated. Healthcare, education, nowadays they're in ruins.
I tell my Venezuelan friends, we warned you guys.
Esta es la hora del pueblo bolivariano.
Venezuela did not listen. They followed Hugo Chávez down the socialist path.
De las grandes riquezas que hay que distribuirlas por igual, de manera equitativa.
Chávez's promises impressed American celebrities too.
Fascinating guy.
This is you and Hugo Chavez.
Oh, Michael Moore! Michael Moore!
Oh, really?
Come on in. He says, help me write my speech.
El capitalismo es el reino de la injusticia.
Chávez said, I'll take from the rich and give to the poor. When there was no money left, the government just printed more. That caused inflation. 1,000,000% inflation.
Yeah.
Now, a chicken costs this much.
Venezuela has, of today, the highest inflation in the world.
When business owners raised prices to keep up with inflation, government often took away their businesses.
¡Por Dios! ¡Algo de corazón!
That's what's happening to this man.
Ajá, pero eso está en manos del gobierno, ¿verdad?
Chavez seized lots of private property.
¿Y este edificio?
Es un edificio que tiene comercio privado de joyería.
Expropiese.
Chavez seized thousands and thousands of businesses, just took them away from their owners. Yet most Venezuelans like that.
People was clapping so hard. They were like, oh, finally, there's some.
Yeah, you know what it is funny too? These same people will be cheering it on until it happens to them. You know, imagine that here. So imagine if you were raising, you know, just a backyard garden or raising chickens, you know, like I have chickens. And imagine if you were doing that and then someone comes along and says, hey, you're not authorized to raise those chickens, or you're not authorized to have a backyard garden, and they take your stuff. Or imagine even worse, you put all this time and effort, money into raising your chickens, money into raising your garden, blood, sweat, and tears goes into it, and then they come and say, that's nice, you did this, so we're going to grab the majority of your stuff and we're going to give it to your neighbors, because that's what socialism does. It gives to everybody. Even though they didn't put in on it, they didn't put money into it, they didn't put the time or effort into it, but you have to share it. That's what that is. And that is bull.
Here making social justice.
But government grabbing private businesses created shortages of almost everything. Why did you leave your country?
It's like the apocalypse. It's no food, no medicine.
How do you feel when you see other countries with the same mistakes that Cuba has made for the past decades?
Terrible.
Michelle Ibarra escaped Cuba and says Venezuela should have learned from Cuba's failure.
People in other countries in Latin America, they will blame anything else besides socialism.
Blaming socialism for Venezuela's riches to rags story is grossly misleading.
There are plenty of socialist countries that look nothing like Venezuela.
When I talk about democratic socialism, I'm not looking at Venezuela, I'm not looking at Cuba, I'm looking at countries like Denmark and Sweden.
Why not try my Swedish tradition?
Scandinavia is now called a socialist success. Even people jailed in Venezuela like Francisco Marquez say that.
Yeah, I mean, you have Norway, you have Finland, you have these type of countries that are democratic, that have democratic institutions, and many of them have socialist policies.
In Scandinavia, private business is largely left alone. Governments don't even set a minimum wage. Freedom rankings score Scandinavian countries high on property rights and business freedom.
All Danes enjoy welfare benefits.
Yes, there's a big welfare state, but it's funded by thriving free enterprise.
Denmark.
But so many American politicians say Denmark is a socialist paradise that Denmark's prime minister felt compelled to reply.
Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy.
So, if Scandinavia is not socialist, where has socialism ever worked? Nowhere.
What would you say to the Americans that like the idea of socialism and support it here?
I would say that they should wake up. You don't need the government to dictate how to live your life, how much money you should make, how your family should be treated, or how much you should pay. If anything, I think taxes are still a bit high here, but it's the best we have in the entire world.
Think about that. The next time you hear Michael Moore and celebrities praising socialism, socialism wrecks economies, wrecks lives. And in addition, it kills. In my next video, I'll show you why under socialism, violence is inevitable.
So, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a brief on socialism and communism, because, you know, a lot of people think, oh, it sounds so great. And like I said, it's great in theory. It really is. But in practice, it's not. And I think a lot of people are going to find out the hard way that it's not good. Like you have, for example, Zoran Mamdani wants to tax, you know, the white areas in New York in order to get funding that he needs for other areas or other things he wants to do. what happens if you live in a white area? Like, how will he define that? Is he saying that it has to be majority white? Is it 100% white? Is it just like 50% white? Like, what does that mean? Like, explain it to somebody. Because like me, I live in an area that's predominantly white. And, there's about maybe, I don't know, about 6% that are like different races that live here. And it's like, okay, so if in theory what he's saying, I would be taxed out the wazoo to help out another community, like, how is that fair to me? Just because I worked my butt off to move into a better area, now I have to be punished for that? Like, how is that fair? How about those people learn to code instead of sitting on their butt? You know what I'm saying? But that's just my thought. I have beef with stuff like that because like I told you guys before, I grew up in the ghetto. I was born and raised back of the yard, Chicago, and I was able to get out of poverty. It's not that hard, and you just gotta get off your butt and do it. Like, I went through every obstacle. I was a young mom, so people can't use like, oh well, I'm a POC, which I hate that word. And I'm a female, and I'm Latin, and I was a young mom. Like, bro, I did it all, and I was able to do it. It's called drive, determination. It's called get off your butt and do it. Like what Shia LaBeouf said.
Just do it!
So that's just my thought. I wanted to give you guys a little sprinkle of what communism and socialism is all about. I do, on YouTube, they have lots of videos. I know there's a reaction video. I forgot who does it, but, that person does reaction videos where they talk about, and there's lots of them out there, that they show people that come from these communist and socialist countries that go into grocery stores and they're brought to tears.
Esto es diferente tipo de mantequilla.
Tipo de mantequilla. Vámonos de aquí, que aquí no quiero estar más. Esto es lo último. ¿Dónde están? Ahora algún día puedan ver lo que estoy viendo yo.
Because they are looking at it in abundance. Because you have to remember, that's where breadlines start, where you have government-run grocery stores. And, you get, like, for example, if y'all had WIC, you would have these, like, tickets that would say you could only buy this stuff with this ticket. So imagine that. And then if they run out, that's it. Oh, well, too bad, so sad, come back another day. That's what that means. And that's what they're trying to bring here, and that's not going to work. Like, it really isn't, and I love to see it. I can't wait to see it because I'm just going to sit here with my popcorn, just laughing my butt off, watching, New York just go up in flames, because it's like, that's what you get. You get what you voted for. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. If you guys have any thoughts of other videos you want me to react to or comment on, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you don't forget to hit that notification bell. Till next time, guys. Bye.